and my friend Laura is interested in learning about trimming horses for a barefoot trim, so I'm making a little video to show her how to do that. And this is Hidaga. She's a Tiger Mustang. She's 16 years old, and she needs a maintenance trim, and she's a bit behind on that trim. So for Laura, the basic tools that I use are these. Got a rasp with a handle on it, a pair of nippers, just a simple hoof pick. I have one with a brush on it, and then some hoof knives, and I have a left hand and a right hand hoof knife. So those are just some basic hoof trimming tools that you can use. So for a maintenance trim, a lot of times the main tool I'm using is this rasp. So I'm going to turn Hidaga around so we've got more light to look at her feet. But before I do that, I just want to point out her feet down here. So you can see how her feet aren't very even in terms of roundness. Like there's kind of a corner here and a corner here. And Hidaga in the past has trouble with a crack in the toe that runs down here. And that's caused by these corners sticking out more instead of it being round. So it puts pressure up here and it puts pressure up here and it causes it to really crack apart. So that's one thing I want to make sure I get trimmed, is get that nice and rounded there. Another thing you might notice is that she's got these grooves in her feet here, and that comes from her toes getting too long, and the upward pressure of the ground on her toe causes it to kind of push upward and flare, and that causes these wrinkles in her hoof. So that's also telling me she needed to be trimmed more recently. So I'm going to turn around here. So we'll start with this front foot here. And I've just picked out her feet because it's kind of muddy in the winter around here in Oregon. So here's just with her foot picked out. So you can see from our really wet weather, you get some crush. So her frogs kind of has some damage to it. So that's what I would use one of these hoof knives for, is just to kind of get that opened up, and so there's not any pockets in it. So just to start with, here's the sole of her foot, and here's the outside wall. And you can see there's a little groove along here. Right along here there's a groove. Now ideally, that groove wouldn't even be there, it'd just be a little line. But that flare that I was talking about earlier causes the toe to push down, push out, and opens that up. And I've been trimming her. She used to have that even worse, but I've been trimming her, trying to keep it more regular, and that's been going away, and this is coming back together. And another thing related to that is when they have a lot of that flare, their foot, it doesn't keep the right shape, so it's not functioning like it should. And she had a really flat foot in here, and it's starting to get its concavity back. So you can see that this part's higher here, and that's how it should be. It should be higher right around here, and then it has concavity. It kind of drops down until it meets the frog. And then back here are your heels. So as I'm looking at this right now, we have really wet weather here in Oregon, so we put a lot of concrete down. So that's helping her feet wear naturally a little bit. And you can see here how right here, that line, it's more connected. Like here there's more of a gap, and here it's more connected. So her foot's actually naturally wearing. You can kind of see here how it's pretty flat here, and right here it's naturally wearing rounded. So that's a good thing. but she's not walking around enough to fully wear her foot down herself. So what I'm going to do for her maintenance trim is take off any excess material right here that's sticking out past this white line area. So I'm just going to take a cut, take off some of that extra that's flared out. And actually you might be able to see that a little bit from a side angle in the front. Just kind of film right here. If you look down the straight of this, you film like right here. You can see that this comes down straight and then it starts to angle out here, in here, that it starts to angle out. So that's where that flare's happening in her foot. So I want to, and that's what causes that separation. So when I trim it, I want to take off that excess here, and I'm going to round it just like it's doing right here naturally. So I'm going to round it up to the white line. And then I'm also going to trim down her heels, so you can see how this is pretty flat, but her heels are grown long. So I'm just going to do some filing on her heels to take them down a little bit. So we'll get started. So you don't have to use the nippers for this part. I like to use them just because it speeds me up a little bit. It's faster. What I do is I just take a cut at about 45 degrees here. So I'm staying outside of that white line. I don't want to get inside the hoof here. It's just this outside part, so it's just a little bit on the outside, and it's just going to help speed me up so I don't have to file as much. So I'm just going to take this little cut here. So I could be doing this with the file as well, but you can see it'll probably take a bit longer. Okay, so that's about how much I want to do with the nippers. So you can see I'm still way outside the white line. I haven't got anywhere near where her foot connects because it's just fleshy material inside of there. Kind of a soft material inside of the hoof, and then we got all the wall on the outside, so I'm nowhere near getting near that part. I'm just taking out this flare. So now I'm going to use the file.
Ew.
So what I like to do is just kind of put her foot up against my leg to kind of support it. And I just hold, sometimes you can hold the file back here, I like to hold it up here. And I'm using the smoother side, not the really rough side. So the rough side I'd use on this part of her foot, and I use this smoother side on the outside of her foot. And I'm just kind of rounding this down, taking off the edges. And it's helpful if you can learn how to do it left-handed or right-handed. I'm still getting my left hand better, but... So I'm just kind of cradling the foot in my right hand when I'm using my left hand here. Give her a little break. We can look at what that's doing to the outside of her foot. So you can see the point where her foot actually touches the ground now is further in. So we've removed that material that's out too far, that's pushing and causing her foot to want to flare. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of rounding this down a little bit and rounding it down a little bit on the inside. And as I've trimmed it, it's a lot more round now, so that's helping get rid of that toe crack that she normally has, or has had in the past. So I was kind of doing it like this to get that edge down. And now I'm going to kind of do it at an angle like this, that same 45-degree angle. And I'm just going to kind of round this point, this edge, right here where it meets the ground. This is a right-handed file, so it's hard to do it with your left hand. So I'm kind of rounding it down till it meets this white line area. And I'm trying to keep the foot rounded as I do this, but I'm also sort of following the shape of her foot naturally. I look at the white line to tell me where that is. So while I'm filing, I'm being very careful not to touch the sole, because that is what protects her foot against gravel or rocks or anything. That's the structure of her foot. And as she gets more concavity, the pressure of her body on the ground is exerted through this part of her sole right here and the part of the wall that's where the white line is. Another horse pushing on her. Oriana. Good. so you can see how we've got the white line. And I could take it in a little bit further, but the idea is that this is going to start dropping off after the white line. Like I've rounded it up to the white line. And right here you can see it's a little bit higher than where the sole is. So I could take that off a little bit more. Same over on this side, but right here it drops off kind of right there from the white line. I could take a little bit more on the toe here. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now the next thing to do would be to take the heels down a little bit with the other side of the rasp. So we could look at that from the front here and do like a little comparison between her two front feet, see what we've done. You can see where I've rounded that out here. I've taken off that excess that was pushing up to make the flare. And here we're still pretty square and it's quite a bit longer than it should be. Okay, so now we're going to work on the heels. Sometimes I put my foot kind of pocket around there, around her foot. So this is with the rougher side of the file. I'm kind of first taking off one side and then the other. Now I've accidentally let the little bit of the sole here get taken off. You don't want to do that if you can help it. Now I want to make sure I file these down evenly. So I want to make sure that this is the same distance as it is over here. Pull her foot out. Set it on here so I can file across both of them at the same time. My file's catching on the frog here a little bit. I could trim that down if I need to. So you can see we're getting a lot closer to the height of the sole in here. And I want to leave all this on. This is all supporting her foot, but I'm just getting it lower so it's not overly long. One thing I can do to kind of check the height is set my file across her heel and check if across here whether one side looks higher than the other or not. Right now this side looks a little higher to me than that side. So I'm going to take this side down a little bit more. And I'm trying to keep my file sort of flat across her foot. So I'm not filing it at an angle. I'm filing it pretty flat. But I'm just taking it off on this side, so it's slightly angled. And this is kind of getting in the way, so I'm going to cut that off. Open it up a little bit. So I want to be careful because I can cut like this, but I don't want to accidentally cut myself. So I'm keeping my hand underneath here. This would be helpful if my tool was a little sharper. Pull this out a little bit. You can see this is a bit of a pocket that's developed in here from the thrush. But as I trim, I just kind of keep all this area open so I can, so it doesn't make a pocket where the thrush can develop as easily. So it's pretty open now. It's a little bit right here. It's kind of made a pocket. Okay, so that's pretty close to where you want it. I'm going to check my height right here between the two heels. That looks pretty good. I can even hold my hand and kind of cup either side of her foot and feel, like kind of line my hand up with her hairline on either side and kind of feel if one side feels longer or not. Just based on the top of her foot. Feels pretty good. I can feel that her toe is a little bit longer in this area. So I'm going to trim that down a little bit on the outside. So it's just flared a little bit more over there.
Six minutes.
Okay, thanks. Alright, so I'd say that one's pretty good now for just a simple maintenance trim.
Here's the white line here on that good.
So back here, it's not separated, so I don't need to cut anything off in there. Just round it with the file. It's actually not particularly separated on these, on the front, on the back feet, but it is starting to flare out. See how it's, this is what the wall would look like if it was just coming straight down, but now it's starting to tip over and wear forward. Should give me another rest. There, pulling a lot. So I'm waiting for her to get soft and I'm gonna let her fit down. Except to get soft. I'm going to take a little bit off the wall right here. I'm going to try not to touch her sole, but it's a little bit higher right here on this side than it is on that side. Just took off a little bit, not affecting the height of her actual sole. This side's actually pretty worn down. Looks like her foot's wearing a little bit unevenly. It's wearing a little more on the outside than on the inside of the foot. And the back feet tend to be a little more uneven than the front. It's still a little bit high, but I don't want to go into the sole, so I'll just get that on the next trim. Just kind of work it down a little bit. Her frog seems pretty open. It's a little bit Just waiting for her to get soft here.